E.O. Wilson says this beautifully. He says the world from this point forward is going to be run by synthesizers. People that can take a lot of information from a lot of different places and make the right decisions at the right time and think critically about it. So it's no longer enough to be an expert in one field because the world doesn't know those boundaries. But we're being asked to draw from everything that we know and to synergize it in a way that we've never done before. So as the world changes in ways that we're not used to, faster than we've ever seen, our lives are changing as well. And we're all learning together. And this is where I think the synergy of the ancient and the indigenous wisdom, married with the best science of today, through community resilience is the key to bring us full circle. And that's where I'm going to stop right now. Thank you.
Hey guys, how are you? Andre Hodge, Seven of Truth once more. Continuing on the cellular memory engagement teaching that I started in the previous video. If I have broken it up, this is the second part. Alright? So continuing on from what I said, okay? And please watch the first part because I'm assuming that you have here, okay? What I'm trying to do is, if I show you a diagram, and I forgot to show it in the last one, is this is a bit of a metaphor of what I feel like it's to be 3D versus our body technology, okay? So the unawareness realm that we're in, 3D 5 sense, it's designed to compress our DNA and all our talents and stuff, where we're actually meant to be on the other side there, which is very expanded. You know, I use the metaphor of an accordion or a scissor lift like that, where we're condensed into that lower level of things, you know, without the ability for the access of the higher level, high dimensional talents that are those stars, if that makes sense, which are our birthright, being in this DNA skin suit, which the majority of people may never experience, alright? There's definitely a lot of people that have the access to talents despite all this, and what I'm sort of wanting to inspire is, this is the natural offering of our technology, the greatest technology in the universe, the human DNA skin suit, which is what I'm wanting to encourage and remind you to accept in yourself, right? So this cellular memory engagement release of the multidimensional madness, the multidimensional method to the 3D madness theme that I've been offering for the last few months is a component of that. Because if I go back to the other image, this is the infinite potential and perception image. I absolutely trust that despite the unawareness realm that we're in, awareness is an option. It's up to you to accept that it is a possibility, and it's not just for someone else and you don't have it, it is in you. So what's the mechanics of accessing it? And these videos that I'm offering is me giving you the method of how I came to understanding that we do have all these as options, and I'm trying to give you the teachings that I didn't have, that are the gaps I've filled, these dots and stuff, alright, to get to how I can do what I can do, alright? So in the last video, the last thing I sort of left off was meditation was a big component, and it was sort of like my meditation teacher I frame as Yoda. She was 5'2" on a cane, but as soon as she sat down in the group, she was like giving everyone readings. After the meditation, she gave everyone a reading, and she was very well known. She was my first introduction to what I class as a super psychic. It was like, wow, you know, it was a real experience of being on the end of that, because when someone reads you and tunes into you, you're hearing your truth and stuff. That's where I found Andrew after many years, and it was fascinating. It was like, this is a whole new level, all right? And so in the past video, I was describing stages and escalations in teachers and next levels of things, and targets to aim for and abilities and stuff. So yeah, I went through, say, Richard Alan Miller, who also taught about and invented cordyceps sinensis mass production, which is another component of my nutrition. I'd gone through the D3 and K2 as well, which I've talked about relative to West and Price, which is why I include them in the videos and stuff. I also had experience with, say, my mother. In my family, there's been two things. There's been like heart issues and dementia and all those mind sort of issues and programs that kick in the body. And what I found, society sort of sees sort of Alzheimer's, dementia as something wrong with the brain, okay? And so be it. I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that, so don't take my perceptions as advice and all that. But and when I came across Andrew and his linguistics and all that were the next levels, and it was very tough to really, it was like a merry-go-round going really quick, all right? It's very hard to jump on, and when you jump on, it's like, wow, like you get flung off and all sorts of stuff, right? But after a while, you get on there and you're spinning, and everything else feels weird. I hated rides as a kid. I used to always get giddy and throw up and stuff, so I never went on roller coasters and stuff. I couldn't handle it. Hated feeling sick and stuff, and but yeah, that's the metaphor. So you had to raise your game to really be able to hear it, and I had this will to know. And yeah, it was 2013 was a really raw time and stuff, and so I went through all this journey and stuff. Went through another radio station called Truth Frequency. I was doing, like, I met those guys in 2009 when they started, and I was like one of the first 10 listeners and supported them for many years. And then I just outgrew it. I was on their show in May 2012, which was really cool, and it gave me a glimpse of actually being a guest and having the opportunity to share my perspectives and stuff, and I got a taste for it. So then another guy that was on my radar around that time was Sean David Moyne, and he had a 2-hour show on American Freedom Radio, and 2 hours was enough, so he had another hour on Revolution Radio. And then I went to Revolution Radio, and it was like, it was a whole different environment. It was very interesting, raw time, late 2012, 2013, and very empowering and exciting to be pursuing awareness, right? We're a lot of years on from then, but I was getting back to the relationship to the body and stuff, and I could see issues with my mother and stuff like that, and I've lived with her and taken care of her for since I've been back in Sydney. And yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but Andrew made this comment about cellular memory, okay, and it's related to the skeleton and what I said about the crystal. Like I said, I'm not a spiritual plagiarist. I give credit to where the teaching came from, because the important thing with that is, if it's in your journey to actually have to explore that individual as a teacher, I don't stem that. That's why I created Conscious Explorer series, so you could find them if they're the ones that you need and all that. A lot of people want to control the audience and don't recommend, and create a distortion through that. Spiritual plagiarism is not something I deal with, right? I will say what I get, and I always recommend and offer where the wisdom came from that I sourced it from, if I can remember. So at some point Andrew talked about cellular memory and the mechanics, and it would have been in that original sort of 6 months where he did his first show on Revolution Radio. And what I got was, you know, I'd already done a lot into the SSRI sort of antidepressants and stuff, because a lot of the issues in my family were related to that during a bad fall that my mother had. no, something was off, but I didn't know. So then I can tune back in and realize, oh shit, that was what was going on, and I trusted things and shouldn't have, but didn't have the measure, like the data set to measure, or even the talents to even own my power and stuff. I was, like many of us, very codependent on allies and stuff, not trusting myself and my own perceptions first, owning the talents and stuff. So then he talked about cellular memory, and the memories being in our skeleton. Okay, so I've talked about Weston Price in one of the earlier releases of this multidimensional method to 3D madness, where many unique, outcome common. And one of the outcome commons is control and limiting our abilities and stuff. So I've got this concept called nutritional suffocation, where there's an age sort of range that we're aiming for. Okay, like you look at, most of us retire at 60, and there's maybe 10, 20 years after that we eventually die. I wholeheartedly know that our technology, we're meant to like be able to live for a lot longer, but if we're suffocated nutritionally, then the resources aren't there for the body, and it eventually breaks down. So I've included a document, like parts of a lecture by a guy named Paul Check in my series, a lecture he gave called Dirt Facts, where he talks about the bone and disease and illness, where it goes from osis to an isis, which is like really bad, and the body's in stress, and the illnesses that most of us get at end of life are the least worst option. Alright, so the pattern is death, an ending of life, and one of the patterns is our elders are not able to be wisdom teachers. They're all, falling apart and put into nursing homes and stuff like that. They don't have the body technology is run down and doesn't have the ability to function to offer high level teachers in our society. All right. So one of the byproducts it can be is cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, and all that. And so what I realized is, wow, if our memories are in our bones, right, it's just the access to that. So like Alzheimer's can be the brain and stuff, which is just like a computer CPU. In IT, data is the key, right? Computers can be replaced, but you can't replace data. Data is the key for a business to function, all right? That's why it's backed up, it's sent off site and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, like dementia and Alzheimer's, to me, particularly dementia, okay, the precursor to dementia is probably osteoporosis, right? And I've seen that with my mother. So this is like 2014, I worked all this out. That's the K2 and the D3. And I've talked about them in an interview with James Arthur Yanchik, and iodine is separate, so you can go through my YouTube channel and go find them, alright? I'm not going to get into them now. The information was there. Do your homework, alright? Be thorough. So, yeah, vitamin D3 and K2. D3 at high levels release two enzymes that K2 activate. One of them takes calcium from where it's not meant to be, like the heart and atherosclerosis, and puts it where it's meant to be. So to me, the whole cholesterol statins is pretty bad, alright? It's designed to actually do what it does in society, not help us, alright? So I eat a lot of cholesterol as well, okay? So I was engaging that instinctively, adding to my repertoire of nutrition, supplementation and stuff. So, and understanding the connection between data and bones, and trusting the cellular memory, doing meditation, understanding these teachers, realizing there's more levels that I can work at. What I understood, like from the cellular memory perspective, and say the hypnosis, altered states and accessing, the way I've worked out to, with all this, and I'll go back to a teaching I learned in IT when I was a consultant, was I lacked self-belief for a very long time. Even like I got into IT after my DJing. I mentioned my DJing. I didn't really expose my talents because I didn't want to be judged and all that. So I went through a lot of self-consciousness through my life. One part of that with the IT was I got hired by this guy in 1999, and 6 months later he went to Sydney. He wanted to earn a lot more money and stuff, and he left me in charge of the network, and had no idea, all right? So I was a bit lost and had no guidance, and I had to learn the hard way. Like I've said, with the DJing and stuff, metaphorically, it's always been quite hard for me, but I've found a way, and that's what a teacher does, in my opinion. Okay, so what makes it easier for those to follow, all right, the next future generations. So I went through this process of lack and not belief, so I started creating all these problems so I could go through them and learn them and work a way through and know it, all right? It's sort of in the same way to do it, but what it did was train me hard. Like being proactive, being methodical and thorough is absolutely a major attribute I have, and a lot of people don't have it. Right? Working hard, like the Michael Jordan Last Dance documentary, there's no shortcuts. And I've talked about Malcolm Gladwell books, where he, in his book Outliers, identifies talents, but all the talented people always had the talent there, but they usually put 10,000 hours of effort into bringing out their talent. Right? There's no shortcuts, all right? Enjoy your work, enjoy your development. Make it joyful, not a burden sort of thing, all right? So this era in my IT, eventually what happened though is I learned to use Google. Google popped up in, the early 2000s sort of thing, and what I learned is to look at the problems in a different way. What I realized is, say, working with Microsoft and stuff, there were millions of people that had networks and all these sort of problems. The likelihood of someone having the same issue is quite high. It became not having to know everything in every moment, it's being able to react to the scenario in the moment. So going from a proactive to a passive, using the resources around you. The internet is an incredible resource, all right? So what I'm getting at is, the key in that is going from a proactive attitude to a passive, okay? So I learned that to react to whatever's around me. If I go back to the image related to perception, so imagine these are all the resources that you know to come to a conclusion, okay? So in any moment, you know your assets and what's there and what isn't there. Sometimes some of the dots aren't there. You've got to work a way around it, all right, to get to the answer and get to the understanding solution and all that. So yeah, appreciate that passiveness, all right, attitude. So I learned to be passive in the moment to react to the scenario around me. Okay, it was a very, very foundational component. So going through all this download phase and stuff like that, integrating all the data, exploring all the teachers, being thorough, being passionate about it, joy of knowing and understanding, the wonder of discovery, right? One of the really beautiful attributes we have in the unawareness realm is discovery and the joy of discovery. Like when you come to a nugget of truth in all the dirt of crap out there, that gives you the wisdom to see something on a different perspective and shift your attitude and open up to new levels. To me, that's been one of my joys of being a conscious explorer, and that's why I created that series as well, to put all the nuggets all in one thing, to make it like a lattice of golden truth, all right, with different teachers. So that passiveness that I talked about. The other thing, what I learned to do is also with the altered states, all right, like I said earlier, probably in the last release, is that we absorb everything. We can our technology is incredible. We don't fully comprehend it, okay? I just watched Alita Battle Angel movie, and it's really interesting because it's like she's a cyborg and with this incredible body, but it's like a metaphor of what we are as human. That's the whole story, okay? And it's just in the moments that the technology kicks in, okay? So I'll show you this, alright? So the passiveness is more aligned to this versus reacting to the reality. Okay, so it's getting out your own way, all right, being in another state, all right. So one of the things Andrew was talking about was our dream time potential and stuff like that, all right. And what I learned to do is actually employ my sleep as learning time, all right. So a lot of the videos I created with Andrew and stuff, I employed that and randomness and chaos, all right. I'd put, say, 60 shows as MP3s on my phone, have earphones on, and fall asleep to it, and let all the shows absorb into my body, into that altered state, as sleep is an altered state. So I've encouraged you to go find YouTube download and stuff, and download my shows and see what you get and play with it, okay? This is all we sleep, but if our dream time is vast, what is the potential? Being trained in it is, okay? And there's been massive solar flares and stuff, and I've had a lot of really awesome dreams and crazy missions and stuff, and probably we've seen each other and all that, okay? But what I'm sort of doing is employing sleep as a time for learning, alright? Because what you do is it's downloading into cellular memory and it's there. Plus what happened was, if I had a question, I was looking for a particular component of something, I would wake up, my consciousness would wake up, and I'd be right there in the particular show, and it would save a lot of hard effort, alright? So I'm just saying that's sort of how we can use our talents and stuff, alright? So the other thing about me, alright, being an IT geek, there's a laziness component to it, alright? So, and I'm joking about myself, right? But you're looking for navigate through a maze sort of thing. Awareness is a maze of discovery, no rules, okay? But what I'm sort of saying about these various employments altogether, okay, is once you do the work, do the thoroughness, accept, okay, there's a lot of technology in your body that you're probably not engaging, and it's nothing you'll learn in society. It's actually a trust that this is part of the mechanics of the DNA you're in, okay? So if you just go and invest in that, and it's not something exclusive to me. I am human. This is in me. I engage it, alright? And if you've done a lot of research and a lot of shows, which many of you have, you're thorough, you watch a lot of stuff, maybe you don't watch it enough, alright? And that's why with the opportunity with Andrew, I did all the shows, 140 plus shows and 140 plus members stuff, because I was condensing it like CBD oil to be a very, very potent sort of download in those shows, okay? My intent is not a lot of people would be like me, okay? Not a lot will go through the hardships I went through that stimulated me to do what I did, to reverse engineer what was going on. A lot of people have children and stuff like that, so, and they got partners and that, and there's a society obligation to do things and stuff, so a lot of the research and understanding is like an add-on component where you only got a couple hours a week and stuff like that, and honestly it's not going to be enough, right? A lot of the people I know have all been destroyed and smashed in life, and all the components that make up normality are being stripped away, so they're raw, pure, surviving, purposeful. They've probably been like in Actuarians Part 2, the undercover incarnators like me, like that's why I describe my journey, been through their own thing, probably had extreme talents that no one else can comprehend, and everyone uses you and all that sort of stuff, because you're not governed by the money and all that sort of stuff. You're governed by something bigger that you can't taste, sense, or smell. And there is a fire in your soul and your belly to want to understand and know. And so that's where I see these people have been through that download phase or going through it, And there's no instruction book, or there's no condensed material, so that's why I was doing to help accelerate people so maybe they can get up to Galactic Special Forces level of operation. Healing is key, alright, for that. You can leave no gaps, alright? That's another topic. So, but what I've sort of offered is all these sort of components, these teachers, condensed teaching, understanding brainwave states. Healing is there. Healings will be blocks, alright? Most people do bare minimum healing, alright? And I've talked about my extensive healing, and what I realized is I was picking up stuff and all that. And it wasn't all me, but I was thorough. Then find the teachers, teachings. Then what you'll find is you'll exhaust teachers and you'll move on and you'll keep going and stuff. And but just see everything you do as a component, say, for this engagement of your cellular memory technology, okay? Just as this sort of teaching. And it's sort of instinctual, okay? It's like a triggered program that's in the background that's motivating you to do all that. And that's where, like, even watching the TV shows, I'm getting a lot of self-disclosure these days, and it's hard to shut down because you're getting all the truth, and it's like, it's all there. But yeah, like, I'm sort of offered many components to me, so you can use me as a reference, all right, and see what gaps you need to learn and why you need to learn them, all right? Because what I was getting back into earlier was about the hypnosis and Richard Alan Miller and the brainwave, you know, theta, beta, delta, and alpha states, and the learning to master them and stuff is in this passive skill set, right, of doing all these components. That passive state is like going into the altered state, and then the information will be there. Or I'll show you that other image, or this, alright? So imagine you've got all these components in a passive state, you've got all the variables, and then the cellular memory gives you the components you need to understand a perception, and that perception kicks in, okay? But the other thing is, if you've gone through the download phase and continually accessing more information and stuff, that passive mode is, say, if what I found is, and this is where I was getting to the lazy thing about the IT geek, is I really hated forgetting, okay? It's like, you know, you've researched something, you listened to something, and you know it's there, but you've lost the reference to it, alright? And one thing I do is create notes of each show, like say if I was listening to audio, it might be 2 hours, it would take me 10 to 20 hours to go through, alright? And that's where Galactic History 2 took me so long. It took me 400 or 500 hours minimum to do, because I would go through a note to be able to recall and be able to focus the topics and conversations. And then I would break all the shows up and put them together like a DJ set of all the same themes, because it was scattered everywhere, alright? And this is where I'll be able to talk about things like the incarnation more, because I did thousands and thousands and thousands of hours listening to over and over shows so I could get the components that I needed to hear relative to the moment and consciousness Tetris. Because what I realized is I can control my fate, okay? It's just a matter of effort, alright? And once I realized all these components, say the memories are stored in the bones, and understanding that and appreciating that, what I'd already realized I'd worked out on a subconscious layer, say the nutrition that I was doing exactly what I needed. And then once I had that focused appreciation of my instincts all doing the right thing, again, it was that passive attitude to things. Like, some things you don't know why you do it, and then at some future point, right, it all kicks in. And that's why I released the accommodating the reality, where I talked with Andrew how I discovered components and I was ready for it at the right time, alright? You don't have to understand in the moment everything, but what happens is if you trust that and you go with your passion and what is the least resistant path, you might have been doing all these components long ago that you didn't realize, and maybe just hearing me talk about this, I'm trying to trigger them now. You understand? Being a bit sneaky, but yeah. So what happened with me is that lazy IT component is I hate friggin' forgetting, right? And that pain and that trauma of forgetting inspired me to memorize things and stuff. And because I had the IT background, I sort of trusted that I had these sort of mechanics. Maybe I'm different, maybe I'm not, right? What I'm saying is it's the attitude of belief and trust in your technology is foundational. You may not believe it or whatever, but what I'm saying is if you put all that recipe of all those components I've sort of said in these videos and you trust that the technology, I'll show you that other image. We are all human. We are the greatest technology in the universe. Just because someone else does it and you don't think you do it doesn't mean you don't have the possibility of doing it. So you need to be open to all possibilities, and that's what infinite potential is about. Alright? If I bring up the infinite potential video image. The infinite potential image. If you don't believe you can, then you're going to impose the limits on yourself. What I'm saying is we're all human. There are different DNA types and 960,000 different types, whatever Andrew says, but there's also common core variables that we all share. We all share a skeleton, we all share eyes, ears, nose, mouth, etc. Despite all the variants. So if you don't believe you have the potential, then you're going to create the outcome of that. The key is to be open to the possibility and be passive. Just give yourself, well, maybe I don't get it at the moment. Maybe I'm actually doing it and I'm doing it so well I don't even know the mechanics. It's just instinct. And a lot of people do have instinct, right? But what I'm suggesting is focus that passiveness to trust in the technology that you're in, okay? And so if that is trust and you do have it, what happens if all the investment you've made up until this point, you haven't really been focusing it? So what I'm trying to do is in these cellular memory engagement videos is empowering that in you, okay? So consider that. So this video has been quite long. If I've broken it up to two parts, then that might be a bit easier for you to digest. But yeah, that's sort of a very executive summary, simple overview of that component of how I operate. It's fun to be able to know, okay? It's enjoyable to have at any moment the ability to recall what you have done in the past as an investment. It's always there and accessible. It's just how you access it, the method of doing it. And I've offered in this theme is my mechanics in the component, and then to trust it in the moment. And the trust takes training. You have to actually probably have your own self-validation of experiences and stuff and see what happens. And if you don't, that's cool. Keep working, keep trying these techniques, and keep employing your effort. Don't underestimate that someday the perception ignition will kick in for you, alright? But yeah, that passiveness, it's not like you're going to remember everything about that. It just might be, you're focusing on something and then it just seems obvious. And instant. Like if you read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, it talks about gut being right 80% of the time. But we don't trust it because it's so quick. Don't let your own self-sabotage and programs of self-defeat kick in. Just be like really open, like the infinite potential sort of image, okay? And yeah, it's just take on board what I said and see what happens. It's really interesting. And yeah, our bodies are amazing, okay? despite what everything might seem like and stuff. Don't accept it. Alright? Own your power, own your potential. But maybe just realize you haven't found the way to it just yet. But it doesn't mean you won't. Okay? So thank you for finding me. Thank you for exploring me and whatever it is you get from me, and cool. I thank you for watching, and I thank you for having me as an ally teacher or healer if that's what you sought me out for. Keep it up, guys. Hang in there. Enjoy the solar storms. They've been pretty active of late. And let's see where we go. Alright? Maybe it's just up to us and that sucks, but at the end, just realize that maybe in a million years when you look back on your soul now, you'll appreciate you for the hardships you went through that no one else seems to know. And the responsibility that you had the courage to do. Awareness is a huge responsibility when you don't really have allies and stuff like that, but maybe it's the difference between being a passive observer and an active leader. Alright? So own what you've done, own what you do. If people can't see it, then there will be people out there that can. Alright? So hang in there. Good luck. Let's see where we go, guys. Thank you. Hey guys, thank you for watching. I hope you gained a lot from these two videos. I'm just adding that extra component at the end that I said I would at the start of the first one. What I wanted to do is just expand a bit on the passive mode thing that I said, where if you master all the components and the ingredients to the recipe of accessing the cellular memory data that is in you, I just wanted to take it a little bit further, because what I also know is if you can master that sort of mechanics of data access in your body, what I found over experience is the passive modes allow the variables applicable to the scenario needing comprehension that is in the cellular memory to be revealed for perception mechanics. What I mean by that is you may have vast treasure trove of data in your body, but what or how is the ordering for that, and how do you call upon what you need to in the scenario that you're in that relate to the situation that you might be in that requires it, or you have that requires information, but you also have more information to expand upon. And that's what I've sort of done in my past with Andrew and all the stuff that I researched. It's one sort of thing that I've operated with in that passive mode, and it's a real, probably there's a lot of unseen mechanics going on, but the way I feel about it is you just trust the technology. You step your consciousness out the way and allow it to do what it needs to do. And it's a bit like in Star Wars, when Luke's going through the Death Star and Obi-Wan tells him, let go, Luke, let go of the technology. They're like the handlebars or the training wheels of life, and the genius of the technology, it will give you what it needs if you get rid of all the beliefs, all the blocks, all the other stuff, and then the perception ignition will really kick in. So I don't want to make it too complex and foreign and things like that, or too iffy or flaky or whatever. You just have to really empower the technology to do what its genius is in it for you to exist and have the maximum experience potential that you have. So I just wanted to add that little bit and take it to the next level, and it takes a bit of training, a lot of practice, and letting go of perhaps the control that you think you have when you're passengers of a lot of things, right? So enjoy it, play with your incredible technology you're in, appreciate the privilege of having it, no matter what you may think of it. Look after it, care for it, give it what it needs, body work, rest here and there. Treat it with a lot of respect and see what happens. Thank you guys. I hope you continue watching and you've gotten a lot from everything else up until this point. Thank you for being here and doing what you're doing, and let's see where we go. Until next time, bye.